What's going on, people? It's your boy KelechIwuaba back with another episode of the Ramblin' Mind Podcast. How are each and every single one of y'all doing today? I hope y'all are staying safe. I hope y'all are taking care of yourselves. I hope y'all are doing all the things you know you ought to do during these times, my friends. Happy Martin Luther King Jr. week. I know it's just the day that was on Monday, but since you're listening to this on a Tuesday, I thought might as well wish y'all a happy MLK Day, you know? Hope y'all went out in the streets, you volunteered a little bit, you gave some time, you know. As they say, MLK Day is not a day off, but it's a day on because we are on service on MLK Day. I hope y'all took some time out. Maybe you were able to go volunteer, do some things that is out of your normal pace. Y'all are staying safe out there in this blistering cold. Like, yo, I live in Atlanta. It ain't supposed to be anywhere close to the 30s. Like, it ain't supposed to go below the 30s. But yo, we're having weather below 18. I'm not talking about Celsius. I'm talking about Fahrenheit. 18 degrees Fahrenheit. Bro, it's cold. I don't understand it. This is why I avoid the north for a reason. This ain't supposed to be happening down here in the south, man. It's insane. I don't like it. At all. But for those of you who love the cold, like my brother who loves the cold because he gets to snowboard and all those things, more power to you. But for the rest of us, we just wait. March is around the corner. We just about 60 more days, just 65 more days, and we'll be out of this thing. Okay, I'm just counting down. I'm counting down. The good part of cold season is already gone. I'm talking about Christmas. I'm talking about Thanksgiving, all of that stuff. That was a good part of cold season. Now it's just the dreary days. It's just, well, it's still kind of good because we still got football going on. We got the playoffs going on right now. So it's still kind of good. But still, it's cold. I don't like the cold. Anyway, that's not why you came to the Rambling Mind Podcast, but you know, the title tells you everything you need to know. Today, we're going to be talking about the skill of spending money. The skill of spending money, which most of y'all are going to hear that and be like, bruh, that's a very oxymoronic statement, or that's an oxymoron if I ever did hear one. What do you mean, the skill of spending money? It ain't take no skills to spend money. All I got to do is go to the store, bring out my card, swipe it, insert it, tap it, maybe just take my phone. I can just tap that thing with my phone. Or if I got some dollars, which who still uses cash? And why do you still use cash? I'm just wondering, like, why do you still use cash? What is the benefit? Anyway, that's beside the point. But you know, there's a variety of ways for you to spend that money. So what do you mean the skill of spending money? And honestly, when I first heard this, I thought the exact same thing. I was like, I heard this from Ramit Set. And I was like, bro, that don't make no sense. Like, you have a lot of good quality content, but this one, you've fallen in love with your own thing and you don't think your poop don't stink anymore. But like, after a while of thinking about it and sitting down and pondering about it, I really came to understand what he meant when he said the skill of spending money. And it's something that we do not talk nearly enough about when it comes to personal finance. And I believe it's one of the reasons why a lot of us are frustrated when it comes to our finances. It's one of the reasons that leads to a lot of our frustrations and our feelings concerning our money. And this is something I say a lot on the podcast is, as much as money is about the dollars and cents, it's also about our emotions. And it's something that we don't necessarily see on the front page of it, but it's something that actually our emotions play a big role into how we manage money. And I was thinking about it. I was like, there are a variety of skills when it comes to managing money. There's so many different skills that we have when it comes to managing money. We have the skill of learning the language of money, all the financial jargon out in the streets, like learning what it is when it says income versus expenses, learning what it is when we're talking about Roth IRAs, 401ks, learning all the different words, credit, interest, savings, all these different words that you have to learn about when it comes to your money, learning about how to manage mortgages and all of these things, loans, all these words that are not very intuitive. And that's a skill that we have to learn. There's also the skill of learning how to track your expenses, the skill of saving, the skill of investing, the skill of paying off debt, the skill of knowing how to use your next dollar, the skill of negotiating your bills, and the skill of learning how to increase your income. And there's so many other skills that as you get better with your finances, that you have to develop over time to make sure that you're handling your money well. There is this one skill that plays a role into every other part of our money, but it's kind of forgotten. It entangles itself into every other part of our finances, but we don't talk nearly enough about it because it is not necessarily intuitively that important. Because, like I said earlier, all you got to do is tap your card, swipe your card, insert it, or use your phone to spend, or use some couple dollars. Every one of us feel like we have the skill of spending down, but really we are still on the rudimentary end of the skill of spending money. And because we do not have a focus on the skill of spending money, it becomes a frustration for us later on in life. It becomes a frustration when we're trying to do certain bigger things, and it feels like I just can never get ahead in my finances. Or if you do get ahead in your finances, it still feels like something is lacking. Because this skill of spending money is one that we don't talk nearly enough about. So as I was thinking about this, I was like, just how exactly would you talk through the skill of spending money? What exactly goes into the skill of spending money? And I came down to it being broken down into two parts. The first part of this skill is the one that we all understand intuitively, or at least I understood intuitively. This is the skill of not spending money. I know it's weird how I'm going about this, but hopefully this makes sense. The skill of not spending money, which includes a number of different things. Everything from learning what instant gratification is, learning how to say no today so you can say a bigger yes tomorrow, learning how to negotiate your bills, learning how to say, no, I'm not paying that bill. I need you to adjust that a little bit. Learning how to use sales to get cheaper items. And I don't mean using sales just because it's on sale, but actually using it to your benefit. Learning how to cut some items out of your budget because you're trying to get somewhere else. Learning how to ignore everybody else so you can focus on the things that you need to focus on. Learning how to say no. This is one of the key skills of spending money, is learning how to say no. Learning how to say no, not just for yourself, but also to your family as well. Also to your friends as well. The core part of understanding choosing not to spend money is learning to say no. But then the second part of the skill of spending money is learning to spend, but to spend for value, to spend for things that you find important, to spend for things that bring you fulfillment, to spend for things that bring you joy. Essentially, the core part of the second half of the skill of spending money is learning how to say hell yes. Learning what it is that brings certain feelings and emotion to you that you're like, hell yes, I don't care, I'm doing it. And for some of us, this is the part that is extremely difficult. For some of us who came into the personal finance game, having to mitigate some of our bad habits that we had when we're coming in because we had bad credit card debt. If you're like me, you came into the personal finance game because you had credit card debt and you were learning how to undo some of the things that you had done. And so the first thing you learned was learning that I should not spend. You learned how to say no. And I can tell y'all this, I have a master's in saying no. I can teach y'all a few things. I mean, you guys listen to the podcast, so you know how well I can say no in a variety of ways. How I learned the skill of saying to myself, no, we cannot do this thing today because we are trying to do some things that is important for us tomorrow. I learned how to say no so I could save for my emergency fund. I learned how to say no so I could start investing. I learned how to say no so I could pay off my debt. I have a PhD in saying no. I am skilled in the art of choosing not to spend. I can forego things because I understand the power of delayed gratification. Saying no is not a problem for me. Saying no is a simple thing for me. However, it comes at a cost. I focused so much on learning to say no, I never picked up the other half of the skill set of spending money. I never learned how to say yes or what to say yes to. I never learned the beauty of saying yes to the things that you value in your life. And so you learn the art of saying no and you get free to a degree. You get free and you can see certain things start to switch up for you. But then you have this emptiness that weighs on you because you say no to everything. You say no to your friend who wants you to hang out with him, but you're like, going out to dinner right now, that's going to cost me like $50. I'm not going to do it. You say no when you could possibly go home to see your family. You're like, $400 to get home. I don't think I can do it. I'm just going to say no to that. You say no when there's a conference that you want to go for, but you're like, When I think about all the flights, food, everything incorporated, plus the ticket to get into this conference is going to be like $1,500, I'm going to say no to that. You say no to things that you look forward to because you've learned the art of delayed gratification, because you have a PhD in saying no, and because we never learned the other half of this skill set. We never learned how to look at our finances and say, what are the things I care about? What are the things I find important? What are the things that bring me fulfillment? And then how do I create my finances to be able to do those things? Not just trying to wait till I'm 60, not trying to wait till I'm 65 to enjoy life, but how do I have, as Ramit Sethi would say, a rich life today, but an even richer life tomorrow? The skill of spending money. But maybe you fall on the other half of this, where you have the ability to say yes to all the things. Your friend invites you out to dinner, it's a heck yeah. Your friend gives you a last second trip invitation like, yo, we about to go to Tulum. You don't care, it costs $2,500. You're like, I'm there. You've learned how to say yes to everything. And you can't say no to anything. And so your life feels out of control. You feel like you have no say in your own life. You feel like every time something comes up, you just, what am I going to do? Because you didn't learn the skill of saying no. And I'm not saying it's easy to say no, especially to friends and family, where you feel like you are disappointing them when they're inviting you to do some of the intimate things with them, when they invite you for their 30th birthday celebration, when they invite you to come celebrate their engagement with them, when they invite you to their wedding, when they invite you to all of these different things. And you're like, I have to say yes. It's important. How could I say no? Because you never learned the skills to say no. So regardless of where you fall in the skill set, maybe you are good at saying no, like me. Or maybe you are great at saying yes, like a few people I know. You have to learn the skill set of the other. Because if you only sit on one of these two extremes, if you only sit where all you do is say no to everything, your life, you look at a computer screen and you see your net worth going up and up and up and up. And yet every day you wake up, you're like, what's the point? Or on the other hand, you only learn how to say yes and yes and yes. And whenever an emergency situation comes up, you panic because you never learned how to say no to take care of what you need to take care of. Both of these skill sets, both of these things are important if we're going to make progress in our finances. We have to learn how to say no, but we must learn the things we must say yes to, the things that bring joy and fulfillment to our lives. We have to say no to all the ancillary things, but yes to the things that are core to us. Because one thing I'm learning is when we learn to say yes to the things that bring us fulfillment and to say no to everything else. And here's the interesting thing. When you start doing this, you're going to look weird to society. You're going to look weird to everybody else. I know people who say, I will never buy a house because I don't need to buy a house. And they are doing just fine. They are renting and taking care of all the things that they want to do because guess what? They would rather travel with the extra money that they get rather than spending it on a house. I know people who have done away with buying new clothes because they're like, what's the point of that? I want to take that money and actually go eat out. That's what I enjoy to do. Learning to say no to what everybody else says yes to, or learning to say no so you can do the things you love, is how we get to a place, a very important place of being good and great with our money. And for some of us who struggle like myself, who struggle with comparison, learning to say yes to the things that bring us fulfillment is the place we get to, is how we get to a place of contentment. Is how we are okay with everybody else doing well and you doing well in your own way as well. It's how we can get to a point like Paul said in Philippians 4, where he says, I have learned what it is to have and what it is to not have. I have learned what it is to hunger and what it is to be full. But in all things, I have learned how to be content. Learning this skill of spending money is how we get to a place of contentment. It's how we learn to be content with the things that God has blessed us with. So I don't know where you may fall, whether it's learning to say no or learning to say hell yes. I don't know where you fall in that. But it is something that we all need to work on. And I can't teach you how to do it because I'm still learning myself. But I know a core part of this is learning for yourself. What do you find important? What do I value? I think once we get to a point where we understand how to answer that one question, a lot of other things fall into place. So I'm praying for all of us that we figure this thing out, that we are able to answer when anybody should ask us, what are the things you care about? We give them an answer in an instant, that we don't have to think about it. We know exactly the things that we care about. And I pray that we all get to a place that we are fully content in the things God has blessed us with. But anyway, that's all I got for y'all in this episode. I hope y'all learned one, maybe two things out of this entire thing. And if you did, share this podcast with one person that you love, one person that you hate, and one person you're just kind of like, about. And while you're doing that, also leave a review on the podcast. I appreciate each and every single one of y'all for listening to this. But it's been your boy Kelechi. I'm going to catch y'all up on the next one. Remember, generosity is always greater than greed. God bless each and every single one of y'all, and I'm out. Peace. Whoosh.